Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Enrico Sassoon speaking. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Italian edition of the Harvard Business Review. And I'm really happy to welcome you to this online meeting on some very interesting leadership issues that we have organized in partnership with Angelini Academy, the corporate academy of Angelini Industries. Along with Angelini Academy, we have decided to investigate what we consider to be a central competence in today's business world: the capacity of managing accelerated processes of change within and outside the company. This is actually a very important issue for every company of any size and industry, and it's becoming more important every day. Companies are operating in an increasingly competitive environment, strongly characterized by volatility and uncertainty, and which is remarkably complex and even ambiguous. It is therefore increasingly important for any manager to succeed in developing the ability to manage the quick changes in daily as much as in long-term operations. This involves the capacity of one, making the right decision in the uncertain situations; two, of properly reading and interpreting cultural changes; three, of managing the difficult shift from the traditional way of working to a new one, increasingly hybrid, and I would also say liquid; fourth, of understanding and practicing the power of networking; fifth, of meeting the new requirements of a workforce which today easily extends on 4 but even 5 generations; and last but not least, of developing diversity and inclusion in all the conceivable aspects of company's life. We will listen to our distinguished guests to understand what all this means for them in their specific field of activity. What is clear is that to thrive in increasingly competitive markets, every company needs leaders that know how to inspire others and have everyone in the organization share the same view on making the best to manage change in always new and often unexpected situations. As part of our webinar on managing accelerated processes of change, we have now with us Alessandro Bulfon, which is CEO of Fameccanica.data. Very welcome, Alessandro. As you may know, Fameccanica, which is part of Angelini Industries, is an international group operating in automation and robotics for the consumer goods industry. Fameccanica operates with almost 700 employees in 3 locations in the world, which is Italy, China, and United States. And the group develops high productivity machines and technologies and high value-added digital services with an approach continuously aimed at sustainability to meet the needs of competitiveness and innovation of customers. So, Alessandro, it's a pleasure having you here with us. As we have been discussing with our distinguished guests, being in a leadership position in an uncertain and highly variable environment as we have today is the nightmare of every decision maker. How do you see the leadership role in these uncertain times? And how can we take sustainable decisions in such a mutable scenario?
Good morning, Enrico, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for having me here with you today. It's really a pleasure. I think that we cannot debate the fact that we're experiencing challenging times, Enrico. Rising interest rates, tighter Fed policies, record high inflation, slowing growth in China, war in Ukraine, and last but not least, lingering supply chain constraints are some of the main causes of our current market volatility. However, we must also take into consideration other factors that are impacting the environment variability. And I think after the 2008 crisis are becoming more often elements to which a leader needs to consider managing his own business. If you look at uncertainty, I think the technology revolution and other factors have made business less predictable. A market that is very dynamic. I think competitive advantages no longer last as they used to. Contingency, with continuous changing competitive landscape, companies are called to constantly review their strategies. And also the contextuality, because different from the past, we're facing an increasing number of variables. In addition to our traditional customer, products, investors, we now have to mind social contribution, ecological responsibility, and many other factors. So, but if we look at that as a negative impact, I think we're making a big mistake. You know me, I'm positive by nature, and I always like to see the glass half full. And I believe that when there are challenges, there are also many opportunities. Therefore, going to your questions, the role of relationship of the leadership in this time calls for different competencies and behaviors in my mind. I think leaders shall behave more like entrepreneurs, and they should also ask their staff to have some level of entrepreneurial spirit in part of their business. And they need to build the requisite skills and structures to ensure this. I think also turnaround and transformation has become a prevalent and strategic capability for fixing or renewing businesses. Last but not least, you have different segments, different people, different cultures, and therefore significant level of soft skills are also needed in leaders that need to show the path, create participation, and ensure that anyone inside the organization have a purpose and a clear role in the vision. I believe a leader needs to demonstrate purpose, social contribution, trustworthiness, and also ecological responsibility. When looking at
all right, thank you. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead.
When looking, going back to your question, Enrico, of sustainable decisions, very difficult question. But I think that the ability to do that nowadays is based on data. So we need to look at data. I think that superior access to information to maintain operational and financial safety nets are critical. In addition, to ensure competitive advantage in this dynamic new normal, as they call it, leaders must embrace and shape capabilities, such organizational resilience, I believe structurized ability to apply diverse strategic frameworks, but most of all, they need to lead with courage.
Thank you very much indeed, Alessandro. You gave us really a great view of what we need to do and in terms of leadership and decision making. Now, in the last 2 years, one of the most important points of changing company life has been in the area of work, as we all know. The issues are diverse. We have a remote working, hybrid working, the organizational balance between on-premises and remote staff, the redefinition of spaces and relationships. On top of that, an aspect that it is seldom analyzed regards the responsibilities of middle management, who are called upon to coordinate and monitor multiple reports, often without having clear ideas or even the appropriate empowerment. This issue is bound to grow in importance, at least in my view. Which is your vision in this regard?
Because two very important topics and a very, very actual, I might say. I think that when talking of change in company life and specifically the work, the area of work, we cannot avoid to focus the attention at the pandemic crisis and its effect as an accelerator of change. I mean, we all witnessed this during this last couple of years. Undoubtedly, the pandemic crisis has forced companies into a significant and challenging change management. during an unprecedented time of challenge and uncertainty. No one was ready. No one was prepared. There was not really a recipe to do that. So I believe that at the same time, it has been a 360-degree learning process for everyone that also has revealed benefits and challenges in working cultures that we couldn't have anticipated. I believe that we are just at the beginning of a work habit redefinition curve. The initial phase of COVID-19 has proven to be extremely challenging period to go through. But now we must look ahead and adapt to what has been called new normal. Okay, and to that effect, I strongly believe that solid and effective communication will be a success factor. I'm currently experiencing this in Fameccanica, Enrico, and when we need to move beyond the pandemic now and create a more sustainable and remote working strategy. That is needed, and that's needed across all levels in the organization. So leaders and organizations need to take several actions to ensure that the communication remains robust. That means physical, that means through social medias. We need to find the right tools to make sure the communication tools are going to consolidate employee engagement, because I think that is at the basis of the critical issues. How are we going to maintain this engagement and this motivation throughout our organization? So companies that aim to make remote working a permanent feature for their businesses practices and a viable option for both employees and leaders need to consider formalized listening. I think we need processes. I'm a process person, and I think that now it's difficult to find the right formula, but we need to go through processes and then formalize them in order to obtain what we need to, what is needed to get this good results and engagement. Because too much can be overwhelming, and on the other hand, too little can be isolating. So it's a very risky moment in this. So when we're looking at this new way of working, we need to look at the positive side, this accelerated trend. And I think that the opportunity to work remotely might also be an attractive draw for talent nowadays. You go beyond the geographic boundaries that before were present, and you can use it as a catalyst for diversification, enabling the flexibility needed for those with caring responsibilities or mobility changes and others. And I think middle managers are the ones that have faced a particular challenge over the past 2 years, because middle managers are in contact with different parts of the organization, with the upper part, lower part. They are in the details. They are in the daily activity. And I think that in many companies that I have visited and have seen, still middle management is not empowered, or at times they're not, they don't feel accountable, or they don't feel responsible for what they need. So now, how to fix this very important organizational gap, specifically when we have in this accelerated evolution of remote work? And I think empowering middle manager in forcing them to step up to the plate, that's another issue. It is a great opportunity and a great answer, whether we continue to be on a hybrid work environment or a physical back to what it used to be, because we have different industries and different needs, different organizational capabilities. So I think that leading through these times, we need to call middle management to lead through context. I think rather than control, they need to connect the dots and set expectations. I think we need to set expectations. Managers can often confuse leading with managing their employees' to-do list, set norms and expectations for their role in order to help them. So they need to lead with change, lead the change. Last, but not least, I think they need to act as a role model, provide feedback, and I think they need to facilitate the skip level and regular basis meetings with the direct reports. And more importantly, they need to share what they hear back from the organization to the director. So I go back to what I mentioned before, effective communication. Let me conclude by saying that making remote working sustainable, Enrico, is still a work in process. I don't think no one has found the right formula. I think the full implications for the operational requirements of each company and leadership and employee preferences in order to design more permanent policies is needed. We are not empowering our middle management as we should yet. And so I think we still missing a big opportunity. It's there to grab, but it will take some time. I think we are at the beginning of the curve, and it will be a challenging topic to make for success.
All right, thank you very much, Alessandro. As you said, we are really in the middle of a great evolution, a great change, and we have big challenges ahead. Of course, we hope that we will get to a new normal situation, but I'm afraid we are still in a very unstable environment, and these challenges are quite complicated. What do you see as the most significant obstacles? And now, of course, the key word here is to manage change. So in this regards, what do you see as the most significant obstacles and resistance to change today and in the near future? And how can we develop a culture? I think that at the very bottom of everything is the culture attitude. So how can we develop a culture of accelerated and continuous change that is conducive to overcoming these obstacles?
I believe, Enrico, that change is around us every day. Sometimes we recognize it, and sometimes we just get used to it and we go with it. And I think in business of all sorts as well are always subject to change. So whether it is fresh tech, new products or services, or expanding client list, each employee must be able to adapt to change quickly and often on the fly, because this is what our current times are asking for. So if you want employees to keep pace, it's crucial in my mind, to create an environment that is conducive to change. You must support your team as they switch gears, right, and adjust to their processes, and rather to just throw change and don't make them feel part of the change. So it's like throwing someone off the cliff without a parachute, right? So and I think fear for change is what we need to, as leaders, we need to avoid. So you need to find techniques or to really be very transparent in the approach of change. And at times we might just start with explaining why are we changing? What is behind the change that you're asking? And I think that is true for all generations. In my organizations, I have people that have been with the company for 40 years and people that have been in the company for 2 years. And what I see is the resistance to change is across the whole generations. They want to understand, they want to have data, they want to have information. So I think there is a need to establish a regular cadence of communication to make employees aware of what the company is working on, make employees feel less like these changes are happening to them, instead of making them feel that it's happening with them. So again, communication nowadays, it's at the center. It's crucial. I think that when you remove through communication, you remove the mystery, and you are transparent in your organization, and you really project the project, and you present the project, and have them embrace the project that you have in mind, and what is your new strategy, where you want to go, how you want to go. You make sure that you don't implement change behind closed doors, but instead you're leaving employees being part of shaping what is the change. You have much more grip. Otherwise, I think that leaving employees in the dark about changes is the true resistance to change nowadays. I think Fameccanica, for example, is undergoing through a significant amount of change in the last 3 to 4 years. And what we have done is we have empowered people to ask questions about change. We have allowed employees to ask questions about how this change will impact them, how it will impact their organization. So giving them ownership with the change, and they feel much better about working in that environment and actually they're becoming change agents. We have also empowered our people to make decisions and act. And change can be difficult at times if it's not controlled. And believe it or not, when you empower and you allow people to make decisions, there is a step back, right? Because sometimes they're afraid to make decisions. They're afraid of not performing to the level. We allow them also to make mistakes. And I think that has been a key factor on driving the change. And also, I see myself as a watch, right? So, and I'm at the hour. And if I tick the hour too fast, then the organization will not follow. So you need to manage the speed of change and help your team prioritize what is their workloads, and they will mentally and physically and emotionally avoid burnouts, because those change sometimes, especially in these uncertain times, can create this type of criticalities. So all in all, I believe transparency, communication, empowerment, and engagement is at the center of driving change nowadays.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Alessandro, really for being here with us and giving your very interesting comments. While we are at the end of this interesting discussion and webinar, and I would like to thank everybody for following this online conference, which I want to recall once again is promoted by the Angelini Group with us, with the Harvard Business Review Italia. So we hope you have enjoyed the discussion. From my point of view, it has been really great and interesting, and we look forward to another interesting meeting in the near future. So goodbye, everybody.